we take you to the offices of the PURC Wednesday morning. So that footage is from the offices of the PURC Wednesday morning, as solar installers stormed the facility at which to demand payment for work done 4 years ago. Management of the PURC is currently in a crunch meeting over the matter with the aggrieved service providers. President of the Association of Ghana Solar Industries, Eric Owusu, and a member, Kobna Nyante, have been speaking to JoyNews.
Which we have done a contract to support artisans during the Doomsday era. We agreed to do it on contract. And they promised to pay us 90 days after the work was done. For 5 years now, we haven't been paid, and that's why we are here. They continue to give us stories and that they will pay. They say today we'll pay, next week we'll pay, and it's never happened. And that's why we are here.
How much money are we talking about?
Several millions of dollars owed to all the contractors.
So, but what sort of engagement have you had with the PURC?
They've had us in meetings and promises, and they've never followed up on their promises.
Even last week, last 2 weeks, they called a meeting in which they negotiated to pay as low as 10% of money that they owe since 2015. After 2015, they wanted to pay each contractor only 10%. And so we said, okay, if that is what they're going to pay, then we will agree for now. At least they will pay the rest. Even that one, we know, and they themselves at the same meeting said they have received the money. After 4 years, they have received the money to pay the contractors. They said they received the money from Gridco. The contract was arranged in such a way that Gridco will collect the revenues and then pay PURC to pay the contractors. We have been good citizens. Great citizens, because when they called on us to be able to help all the artisans who during the Doomsday days did not have power, we installed solar for them. But this is what hurts me the most. What they did was that they took the 8 top companies in Ghana, 8 top solar companies in Ghana, and collapsed all of them. And collapsed all of them. And we have allowed the foreign companies to be doing all the solar projects. Cadbury Solar was not done by a Ghanaian company. Special Eye Solar was not done by a Ghanaian company. Casapraco was not done by a Ghanaian company. All these solar projects are not going to the foreigners. So how can you take all your best solar companies, collapse them, and then allow the foreign companies to come in? How are we going to create jobs? How? Because the amounts involved are a lot. A lot of us borrowed money to do projects that come to about $1 million, $2 million. So if you don't pay, you have collapsed the solar company. Since 2015, if you don't pay, you have collapsed the solar.
That was Kobna Nyante. He's a member of the association, and he's joined us in studio. Mr. Nyante, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yes. Exactly which work did you do for government?
So let me explain. During the Doomsday days, in 2015, sorry, a number of artisans, that is seamstresses, tailors, barbers, hairdressers, were complaining about power outage. So they petitioned the president, and the president set up a special project, a special solar project, and they assembled 8 of the best solar companies in Ghana. We went through a very rigorous process and assigned each company anywhere from 500 to 1,000 solar systems to be installed. So the contract was arranged in such a way that the government would give us the list of the beneficiaries of these solar systems, and the solar companies who had been assigned the contract would go and install them. And whichever quantity is installed within any quarter, there was a criteria that is determined for the capacity of the solar installation and how much is supposed to be paid. So within each quarter, whatever quantity that is installed, you submit for payment, and the government will know, a PURC, that was actually the entity that we signed the contract with, would make the payment.
Are you still supplying this power?
A lot of the systems are working. I mean, we installed them way back in 2015. Some of the work was done in 2016, and the systems are working. The beneficiaries were very happy and thankful that we had actually given them the opportunity to work. You know, when there was power outage, a lot of them didn't have any work to do. I, for instance, my company, Translight Solar, we did the work, most of the installations for those who are in the Upper East and Upper West.
Okay.
There are other members of the Association of Ghana Solar Industries who did work all across the country. There's some were assigned, Greater Accra region, Volta region, and all the other regions.
And these persons you supply the solar power to, did they have regular payments they made to you, or as soon as you installed it, your work with them was done?
So the way it worked was that when we installed it, there was a form, a form that the beneficiary signs that they are happy with the installation, because the beneficiaries, know what they are to expect, and so they are happy with their solar installation, and that the capacity is enough for them to keep working. So if it was installed for a seamstress, they sign off that they have enough power to be able to keep working. If it was installed for a hairdresser or a barber, they sign off. And our job is to take this form and then take pictures and as much documentation of the solar installations and submit it to PURC as proof of the work done. And then PURC will go and inspect the work. Up to now, they have not done most of the inspections.
They did not inspect the work?
They did not even inspect some of the solar installations, and they have not paid us till now. And the challenge, what hurts us the most is that, I don't know of any foreign company in Ghana, any foreign solar company in Ghana, who would have answered the call to duty to go and do solar installations for a fellow Ghanaian. I don't know of any company. As a matter of fact, when they were doing the listing, there was an American solar company who was, they were called Point Innovate. They were called to one of the meetings. I saw them during the vetting process. And then they left the country after doing so. But meanwhile, because we have not been paid and we could not raise any more funding because most of our capital is locked in a lot of these installations, we're talking about a couple of millions of US dollars.
How much exactly?
I mean, it depends on each company and how many installations that they were assigned.
How much are you owed, Translight?
It's up there, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So when these 8 companies together will get in the tens of millions of dollars?
Well, I mean, the focus here is that PURC promised that they were going to pay us after a maximum of 3 to 6 months after executing the work.
In 2015?
This was in 2015. And we have not been paid. And because of that, a lot of the solar companies, all the solar companies that did executed the work are in survival mode. Meanwhile, these 8 companies are all in survival mode. Meanwhile, we have other foreign companies who are doing, who come in and do all the big solar projects. I mean, how are we going to create jobs? Now, look at it from this critical angle. The president of Ghana, both the previous president and the current president are co-chairs of Sustainable Development Goals. They are co-chairs or they are advocates for Sustainable Development Goals. The contract that was signed was a presidential initiative, So you would expect that at the minimum we would see some kind of leadership in helping the country go green, right? And even if you look at the way our grid is set up, you remember a couple of days ago we had one break in one transformer around Kumasi, and half of the country or much of the country was in darkness. It is because of the way our grid is structured. So you cannot do away without renewable energy, without local energy. a lot of these industries that all the surveys shows that a lot of the industries spend over 40% of their cost of manufacturing or production in electricity cost. You can drive down this cost. That is what countries like Egypt and other countries have done. Morocco have done. You can drive down this cost by reducing the cost of production. If you reduce cost of electricity, you reduce cost of production, and you make these companies competitive and give us the opportunity to be able to export. So why would you take some of your best companies who are helping to alleviate the issues of power production in the country and just make sure that you incapacitate them?
So this was way back in 2015.
This was in 2015.
What was the level of engagement before the change of government? With government, before
it had always been a process of, calling for meetings. The group and AGSI, that is Association of Ghana Industries, calling for meetings between petitioning for payment to the executive secretary, and then after a couple of months of petitioning, then they will call for some meeting, just assuring us that payment will be paid. But there are two separate issues here. The first issue is doing the basic work to make sure that you have actually certified the work that we have done and that it is ready for payment. In that case, some of us could have actually used the fact that the work has been certified and that payment is going to be made to maybe discount some of the revenues to expected, and then and moved on, right? But even that part was not done. Okay. And then the second issue is with the payment itself, which also has not been done.
Why are we demonstrating now?
What actually started this whole action today was that 2 weeks ago, they called a meeting, and in the meeting, they made it clear to us that they had finally received funding, right? Later on, we met the commission after the demonstration, and then they said that the funding was not from the source that we thought it was from. But the bottom line is that we were sure that they had received funding, and that as of last week, they were going to start making payment. It was a bitter pill to swallow, because after 4 years of waiting, they said they were going to pay only 10% of the amount that is owed to us. And across the board, each contractor was going to get 10%. And then later on, they will work with us to pay, the balance that was involved. And so it was a bitter pill to swallow, but we thought
you decided to take it anyway.
Because Christmas is coming. You have to pay your employees. Yeah. You have to find a way to survive. You have a rent to pay, right? And so we accepted it. Only to find out, get another message that there was the need for another stakeholders meeting before they even agreed to the 10%.
From the PURC.
From the PURC. And that is when we decided that it was time, as good citizens, as responsible citizens, to find a way for our voice to be heard.
What is the impact on your company now of this lack of payment?
Personally, it has been very damaging. It's been very damaging. It's been extremely difficult. The original plan that we started with back in 2015, when I started this company, was to ensure that we had built a data center that is going to monitor solar installations and allow people to pay installments. Removing the initial upfront cost is what is hindering people, migrating to solar energy. And because of this particular project, we have not made a single headway. Anytime you move forward, there's this debt that you have to take care of in our books. We have, after the project, I laid off all the 50 employees that were working for me. And several of the employees were the people who came out today to support us in a way, as a way of getting our voice heard. I know that similarly, other companies like Franerics, Amazon, TradeWorks, and all those other companies, Lumentech, have also laid off their employees. Now, the most important message that we want to send, because we had a meeting with the commission, is that this issue should be looked at also from the point of ensuring that we find a way to revive these companies, because they are necessary to job creation and integral to solving our power crisis.
So if this does not happen, if this 10% is not paid, what do you do?
For the first time today, this is the first day that after the action, we met with the commission. And we got, full assurance, and to engage the commission. So at least we are assured now, as compared to previously, where there was not much, engagement. At least we are engaged not only with the executive secretary, but with the commission, which we hope, would do good by us.
When will this meeting take place?
We met with them earlier, right after the action.
After the action.
Yes, and we're supposed to hear from them early next week.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nyante, for joining us. Governor Nyante is a member of the Association of Solar Industries.